Hello friends, welcome to yet another video of Hindu Judaic. We will talk about integrated battle groups, the new phase of Indian war machine. Ever since the downward spiral in relations with Pakistan in 2016, the Indian Army has been restocking missiles, tank and artillery ammunition to be able to fight a 10-day intensive war, or what it calls 10I scales. The Director General of Military Operations, the Army's principal war planner, has begun studying the terrain from Jammu and Kashmir to the Run of Kutch to see how IBGs can be deployed. The Army Chief hopes to have about a dozen IBGs along the western border with Pakistan in the next 4 to 5 years. The aim is for IBGs to break through the adversary's defenses and cross the border in hours, not days as was the practice earlier. The objective is to capture territory and create launch pads inside enemy territory for the main body of troops to join in. One of the corps falling under the Chandi Mandir based Western Command will be broken up into 3 IBGs. The IBGs will be positioned along the international border with Pakistan. The IBGs will be sector and terrain specific. No two IBGs will be alike. From one size fits all, we are moving towards sector and terrain specific IBGs, says General Rawat. The IBGs will be guided by what he calls triple TR, or threat, terrain, task and resources. The resources of an IBG, that is the number of tanks, artillery pieces, bridging equipment it carries, will be guided by its task, terrain and the threat it faces. In the strongly defended plains of Pakistan's Punjab province, Indian IBGs can expect stiff resistance from heavy and light anti-tank units and infantry entrenched behind ditch-cum-bunts DCBs. They will need tanks, anti-tank weapons, armored personnel carriers, and close air support from the IAF's newly acquired AH-64E Apache tank-busting helicopter gunships. In the Rajasthan desert, where resistance is unlikely to be as stiff, the threat will come from enemy tanks and anti-tank units. The battle groups could replace the Army's basic all-arms unit, the Infantry Division. The division, which consists of between 15,000 and 18,000 soldiers and includes other arms like artillery brigades, helicopters and signal and engineering regiments, has been found to be ponderous and slow-moving. It takes days to be mobilized. The restructuring plan was initiated with 4 studies, each headed by a lieutenant general, with the aim of reconstituting the field army, reducing personnel from army headquarters and reviewing the terms of engagement of officers and soldiers. The larger aim is to pair off up to 1 lakh personnel and use the savings to boost the army's capital budget, what it uses to buy new equipment. With IBGs, the army hopes to address a long-standing weakness, the inability to inflict punitive strikes against the Pakistan army. Unlike 15 years ago, the army operated under what was called the Sundarji Doctrine, propounded by its former chief in the late 1980s. 7 defensive corps that held the border with Pakistan and 3 offensive strike corps brought in from inland. The first cracks in the doctrine appeared in 2001. It took the army over 20 days to deploy its strike corps to the border following the December 2001 terror attack on Parliament. The army believes this ponderous deployment cost them the element of surprise at a time when Pakistan had not laid minefields and its own strike formations were far away from the border. The Cold Start Doctrine, unveiled by the Army in 2004, called for defensive corps to carry out shallow cross-border thrusts within 72 hours. The thrusts were given limited objectives such as capture of territory. Deep thrusts, it was feared, would force Pakistan to launch nuclear weapons. The plans were, however, never implemented until General Rawat came on the scene in 2016. Even as it war-gamed Cold Start in multiple exercises over the years, the army did not create IBGs. It opted for ad hoc battle groups taken out of the strike corps coming together and exercising on the border just days prior to the offensive. This did not achieve the objectives of having them fight as a cohesive, integrated unit. Even the 72-hour window proposed by Kohlstadt began rapidly closing when Pakistan began moving its forces closer to the border. The solution, General Rawat believed, was to have a force that was stationed as an integrated unit near the border, complete with armor, artillery, combat engineers, and signal units. These would be like the basic fighting formation in the US, the Stryker Brigade combat team. Every Stryker Brigade has 4,500 soldiers and over 300 armored vehicles. The IBGs, the Army proposes, will strike across the border in less than 24 hours. The Army will evaluate the results, converting some of its 40 infantry divisions into IBGs before it expands the scope. Military analysts see in the IBG concept a chance to make the Army's ponderous organization lean, agile, and flexible on the battlefield. It provides the Army an opportunity to regain its balance in composition of organization, equipment, and quality of leadership, and a refreshing change from a heavy infantry screw to the combined arms approach. IBGs are expected to be game changers that will alter the way the Indian Army strategizes for war. Officials expect these specialized groups to ensure better integration and self-sufficiency as compared to the existing formations. During hostilities, the current system requires a brigade to wait to be augmented by various types of units such as artillery and logistics, which raises its time to mobilize. This won't be the case with IBGs, which will be self-sufficient and inbuilt with all such units, and hence easier to mobilize. Friends, hope you like this video. Please subscribe us for more such videos. Thank you.